You refuse to help us? That was the text my mother sent after my sister demanded I fund her life. I replied, "You wish," and left the country. 2 weeks later, they were facing eviction because for the first time in 16 years, I chose me. Let me take you back to the moment everything changed. I was sitting in my cubicle at a marketing firm in Dallas, Texas, halfway through a turkey sandwich when my phone buzzed. It was my younger sister, Megan. Her message read, "Hey sis, big news. I am finally doing it. I am quitting the salon tomorrow." Brandon and I talked about it, and we decided I need time to find myself. Figure out what I really want to do with my life. You will take care of us while I figure things out, right? I know you have got that great job and no kids or anything, so it just makes sense. We can move in next weekend. I read those words 3 times. Each time, my blood pressure climbed higher. Megan was 29 years old. She had been working as a receptionist at a hair salon for 6 years, earning decent money plus tips. Brandon, her boyfriend of 4 years, was 32 and worked as a freelance graphic designer. In reality, that meant he played video games 18 hours a day and occasionally updated a logo for $50. They lived in a cramped apartment that his parents partially funded. And now, without any discussion, without any consideration, my sister had decided that I would become their personal bank account. I set down my sandwich. My hands were trembling. The audacity was almost impressive. I typed back 3 words. "That is not happening." 3 dots appeared on my screen, then disappeared, then appeared again. Finally, her reply came through. "What do you mean? We are family. This is what family does." I did not respond. Instead, I walked straight to my manager's office and asked if the Singapore position was still available. The one they had been trying to fill for 4 months. The one that came with a significant salary increase, a full relocation package, and a 4-year contract starting the following Monday. My manager, Elena, looked surprised. "You said you could never move internationally. What changed?" "Everything," I told her. "I want the position. I will sign today." 7 hours later, I received the contract via email. I signed it electronically at 6:42 in the evening while sitting alone in my car in the parking lot. My hands were steady this time. The message from my mother arrived 3 minutes later. "Natalie Marie Patterson. Your sister just called me sobbing. She said you refuse to help her when she needs you most. How could you be so selfish? She is family. We take care of family. Call me immediately." The guilt tried to seep in the way it always had my entire life, but something was different now. Something inside me had finally cracked open. I called my mother. "Natalie." "Thank God," she answered. "Listen, Megan is really struggling right now. She needs your support." I cut her off. "Mom, I am moving to Singapore on Monday. I accepted a job transfer. I will not be able to help Megan because I will be living on the other side of the world." Silence. Complete and total silence. "You are what?" "Moving to Singapore. For at least 4 years, maybe longer." "You cannot be serious. You cannot just leave your family when we need you." "Actually, I can. I already signed the contract." Her voice turned sharp. "This is because of Megan's text, is it not? You are being petty and spiteful." Something inside me broke wide open. Years of suppressed emotions came flooding to the surface. "You want to know what is petty, Mom? Let me tell you a story. Let me tell you about the last 16 years of my life." "Natalie, do not—" "No, you are going to listen. If you are watching this right now, let me know where you are from. Drop your city in the comments, because this story is about to get very real. My father died when I was 18 years old. Heart attack. Sudden and brutal. He was the parent who truly saw me. He attended my track meets, helped me with my calculus homework, and told me every single day that I was capable of anything. Mom had always been closer to Megan, her baby girl. Megan, who needed more attention, more support, more everything. The morning Dad died, I was getting ready for school. He was sitting at the kitchen table, drinking coffee and reading the newspaper like he did every morning. He smiled at me and asked if I was prepared for my history presentation. I said yes. He told me how proud he was of me. 25 minutes later, Mom screamed from their bedroom. The funeral was crowded. Dad was well respected at his engineering firm and deeply involved in our community. Everyone shared stories about his kindness, his humor, his generosity. I stood there in a black dress borrowed from my friend Alicia, shaking hands and accepting condolences, while feeling absolutely hollow inside. Megan could not even finish the service. She had a panic attack halfway through, so Mom had to take her outside. I sat alone in that pew, listening to the pastor speak about a man I would never see again. Something inside me went very quiet that day. After Dad died, everything changed. I was starting my senior year of high school. Megan was 16 and falling completely apart. I understood that everyone grieves differently, but while Megan received therapy, extended absences from school, and Mom's constant attention, I received expectations. You are so strong, Natalie. You are handling this so well. I need you to be strong for your sister. I did not get permission to fall apart. I had to maintain my grades because I had already applied for scholarships. I had to get into college because we could not afford tuition otherwise. I had to work 18 hours a week at the grocery store to help cover household expenses while Megan was allowed to focus on her recovery. I earned a full scholarship to the University of Texas at Austin. When I told Mom, she cried, but they were not happy tears. It is so far away. How can you leave us right now? Megan still needs you. I need you. Megan threw a fit when she saw my acceptance letter. She actually threw things across the room. She screamed that I was abandoning her, that I did not care about the family, that I was selfish for applying somewhere so far from home. You could go to community college here, Mom suggested. Save money, be close to home where you are needed. But the scholarship covered everything: tuition, room and board, books, all of it. It was an incredible opportunity, and some part of me understood that if I did not take it, I would never escape the role they had assigned me. I went anyway. It was the first selfish decision I had ever made. The guilt nearly destroyed me. During my first month at UT Austin, I called home every single day. Megan refused to speak to me. Mom would sigh heavily into the phone and tell me how Megan had cried through dinner, locked herself in her room for hours, and stopped eating properly. She misses you so much, Mom would say. The implication was always clear. This is your fault. I offered to come home on weekends. Mom said it would only make things harder when I left again. I offered to video chat with Megan. She declined. I sent care packages, long letters, and funny cards. They went unanswered. By October, I was having panic attacks in my dorm room, convinced I had made a terrible mistake. My roommate Jessica finally sat me down. Your family is manipulating you, she said plainly. Can you not see it? They want you to feel so guilty that you drop out and come home. I argued with her. They were not manipulating me. They were just grieving. They were struggling. But Jessica's words planted a seed. Throughout college, I worked 2 jobs while maintaining a 3.9 GPA. I called home 3 times a week. I flew back for every holiday, paying for plane tickets I could not afford. After I graduated and landed my first professional job, I started sending money home. Not because anyone directly asked, but because Mom would casually mention the electricity bill was high that month, or Megan needed new tires, or the roof needed repairs. Every single time I wired money. Every single time I ate ramen for dinner to make up the difference in my budget. My starting salary was $56,000 a year. After taxes, rent, student loans, and the steady stream of money flowing back home, I was barely surviving. One particularly devastating month, I sent $700 to cover Megan's car insurance after she let it lapse. That same week, my own car broke down. The repairs cost $450. I did not have it. I had to borrow money from Jessica, who had moved to Portland but remained my closest friend. This is insane, she told me over the phone. You are going into debt to fund your sister's irresponsibility. It is just temporary, I said, until she gets back on her feet. Natalie, she is never going to get back on her feet if you keep catching her every time she falls. I paid Jessica back over 5 months, $60 at a time. Last Christmas, I spent $900 on gifts for Megan, Brandon, and Mom. I flew home for 4 days, spending another $700 on plane tickets. Megan gave me an $18 candle from Target. Mom gave me a framed photo of Megan and me from childhood that I assumed had been sitting in the attic for years. The candle still had the clearance sticker on the bottom. I found it later while unpacking my suitcase. I sat on my bed in my empty apartment, holding that candle, and something inside me shattered. I had spent weeks selecting thoughtful gifts. I had purchased Megan a professional makeup kit for $380. I had bought Brandon a high-end gaming headset for $220. I had gotten Mom a spa day package for $280, and I received a discount candle that smelled like synthetic cinnamon. On Christmas Eve, Megan announced she was considering going back to school for massage therapy. The program cost $9,000. She stared at me, hopefully the entire time she spoke. That is great, I said carefully. How are you planning to pay for it? The room went silent. Megan's smile faded. Well, you have always been so good about helping me invest in my future. Invest? As if the money I had given her over the years was some kind of mutual fund. I said I would think about it. I never did, and Megan never brought it up again, which told me exactly how serious she was about the program. But here is what I discovered months later from a cousin who felt guilty for staying silent. Megan had already been accepted into the program. She had been telling everyone for weeks that I was paying for it. When the tuition deadline passed and I had not sent money, she told the entire family that I had backed out, that I had made a promise and then broken it, that I had abandoned her. I had been cast as the villain in a story I never knew I was part of. If this story is hitting close to home for you, take a second to hit that like button. Trust me, this is about to get even more intense. All of this came pouring out to my mother over the phone that evening. 16 years of being the responsible one, the strong one, the one who sacrificed everything so everyone else could be comfortable. I have given everything to this family, I said, my voice strangely calm. I put myself through college. I worked myself into exhaustion. I sent money I did not have. I put my own life on hold over and over again. And you know what I realized today, Mom? Nobody has ever asked me what I need. Nobody has ever wondered what I want. Not once in 16 years. That is not fair, Natalie. We have always appreciated. Have you? Because appreciation does not come with a request for more money attached. Appreciation would have been asking me how I was doing when Dad died instead of telling me to be strong for Megan. Appreciation would have been celebrating my accomplishments instead of making me feel guilty for having them. Mom's voice sharpened. Your father would be so disappointed in you right now. No, Mom. Dad would be proud that I am finally putting myself first. He was the one who taught me I was worth something. You are the one who taught me I was only valuable for what I could give everyone else. I hung up. The next 4 days were chaos. Megan called me 23 times. I did not answer. She left voicemails that cycled through every emotion: hurt, anger, desperation. How can you do this to me? I am your sister. You are being so selfish right now. Please just call me back. I am scared. I do not know what to do. I listened to every voicemail once and then deleted them. The old version of me would have crumbled, would have called back, apologized, worked out a compromise. The new version pressed delete and continued packing. Mom sent long texts about family obligations, about how I was abandoning them, about how she had raised me better than this. She tried guilt. She tried anger. She tried bargaining. What if Megan promises to find a new job immediately? What if she only stays with you for a few months? What if we all sit down and discuss this like adults? I did not respond to any of it. Monday morning arrived. My apartment was empty, except for the suitcases I was taking with me. Everything else was in storage. I would be living in corporate housing in Singapore until I found my own place. As I loaded my car for the drive to the airport, my phone rang with an unfamiliar number. Against my better judgment, I answered. Natalie, it is Brandon. I almost hung up immediately. What do you want? Listen, I know things are complicated right now, but you need to understand how hard this is for Megan. She has been crying for days. She really thought you would help us. Did Megan ask you to call me? No, she is really upset. We were counting on you. You were counting on me to fund your girlfriend's unemployment while she finds herself. Do you understand how ridiculous that sounds? It is not like that. She just needs some time to figure out her next step. Then why can you not support her? You are her boyfriend. Silence. My design work has been really slow lately, and my parents said they would cut me off if Megan moved back into their apartment with me. So your plan was to make me responsible for both of you. You do not have kids. You make good money. It would not have been that hard for you. The entitlement was breathtaking. This conversation is over. Do not contact me again. I hung up and blocked the number. The flight to Singapore took 18 hours with a layover in Tokyo. I spent most of it sleeping. Deep, dreamless sleep I had not experienced in years. My body understood what my mind was still processing. I was finally free. Singapore was overwhelming at first. The humidity, the crowds, the incredible diversity of languages and cultures. My corporate apartment was small but modern, with a view of Marina Bay. My new office was sleek and professional, and my colleagues were welcoming. The first week was a whirlwind of orientation meetings, paperwork, and adjusting to the time difference. I would wake at 3 in the morning, completely alert, my body convinced it was afternoon. I would walk to my apartment's small balcony and watch the city come alive, lights flickering on in buildings across the harbor. Everything was different here. The food, the weather, the pace of life. The public transit was cleaner and more efficient than anything I had experienced in Texas. People actually lined up politely instead of shoving onto trains. The streets were immaculate. I had expected to feel lonely. Instead, I felt lighter than I had in years. My first project involved regional marketing analysis for teams across Singapore, Hong Kong, and Sydney. My manager, Catherine, was a sharp woman in her 50s who had relocated from Taiwan 2 decades earlier. During our first one-on-one meeting, she studied me carefully. "You seem relieved to be here," she observed. "Not excited, relieved. Are you running from something or toward something?" I considered lying, then decided honesty was easier. "Both, I think." She nodded. "Good answer. Running from something is fine, as long as you are building something better. Just make sure you do not spend so much time running that you forget to actually live." It was wise advice. For the first 2 weeks, I kept my phone on airplane mode except for work emails. I knew I was delaying the inevitable, but I needed time to settle into this new life without the constant weight of home pulling me backward. When I finally turned on my messaging apps, I had 147 texts from Mom and 112 from Megan. I did not read most of them. The preview text was enough. But there was also a message from my Aunt Patricia, my father's sister. We had always been close, though she lived in Oregon and I only saw her every few years. "Hey, Natalie. Your mom called me, very upset about you moving to Singapore. I told her it sounded like an incredible opportunity, and she should be proud. She did not like that. Anyway, I wanted to say I am happy for you. Your dad would be too. You are doing the right thing. Love you." I cried when I read that message. Real tears. The first I had allowed myself throughout this entire ordeal. Work was exactly what I needed. Challenging, engaging, fulfilling. My manager valued my contributions. My team respected my expertise. I was learning new systems, leading important projects, and feeling genuinely appreciated for the first time in my career. I made friends, real friends who did not know my history and who saw me simply as Natalie, not the responsible sister, not the family bank account, just me. I tried every type of food I could find at the hawker centers. I visited gardens by the bay and Sentosa Island. I took a weekend trip to Bali. A colleague named David from Australia invited me to a board game night his wife organized every Friday. That is where I met Priya, who worked in finance and had a dry, sharp sense of humor that made me laugh until my stomach hurt. We bonded over our shared experiences with overbearing mothers and became close friends quickly. Priya introduced me to her rock climbing group, her book club, her husband's cricket team. Suddenly, my calendar was filled with real social events. People who invited me because they enjoyed my company, not because they needed something from me. I was genuinely happy, possibly for the first time in my adult life. 7 weeks into my new existence, I finally unblocked Mom and Megan. The messages that flooded in told an interesting story. The first few weeks had been filled with rage and guilt trips. Then came bargaining, with promises that everything would be different if I just came home. Then confusion about why I was not responding. And finally, radio silence for the previous 3 weeks. I sent a message to the family group chat. "Hello, everyone. I wanted to let you know I am settled in Singapore and doing well. This has been an incredible opportunity, and I am very happy with my decision. I need everyone to understand that I am no longer available for financial support. I love you all, but I need to prioritize my own life now. I hope you can respect that." The responses were mixed. Aunt Patricia sent a heart. Uncle Richard, Dad's brother, responded with congratulations. A couple of cousins expressed support. Mom wrote, "I am glad you are safe. I wish you would answer when I call. We have a lot to discuss." Megan did not respond at all. 4 months later, I received an email from Megan, an actual email, not a text message. Natalie, I do not really know what to say. I have been really angry at you, but our cousin Amanda told me some things that made me think. She said I have been taking advantage of you for years and did not even realize it. I got defensive at first, but then I really thought about it. About all the times you helped me, and how I never properly thanked you or appreciated any of it. I do not know if this matters now, but I got a job,
A real one.
full-time at an insurance agency. Brandon and I broke up because he was not willing to work harder, and I realized I was dating someone who wanted to coast on other people just like I was doing. I am not asking you to forgive me or come back. I just wanted you to know I am trying to do better, and I am sorry for how I treated you. You deserved better from me. I read that email 5 times. It felt genuine in a way Megan's communication rarely did, raw and honest. I replied simply, "Thank you for reaching out. I am proud of you for taking those steps. I hope you keep going. I am not ready for regular communication yet, but I appreciate the apology. Take care of yourself." It was not reconciliation, but it was something. A door left slightly open. Mom was harder. She called once a month, always at inconvenient times. The few conversations we had were difficult. She struggled to ask about my life without steering toward her own problems or making me feel guilty for being away. After one particularly exhausting call where she spent 45 minutes complaining about how hard everything was without me, I finally said something I had been holding back. "Mom, I love you, but you need to hear this. You made me responsible for holding this family together when I was 18 years old. You put adult burdens on a teenager while letting Megan stay a child. You taught me that my value came from what I could provide, not from who I was. That is why I left. Not to punish you, to save myself." Long silence. "I did the best I could after your father died. I know you did, but your best was not good for me. And I need you to acknowledge that instead of making me feel guilty for protecting myself." Another pause. "I will try. This is hard for me, Natalie. It has been hard for me for 16 years, Mom." She did not call again for nearly 2 months. Year 2 in Singapore brought promotions, new adventures, and genuine contentment. I started dating someone named Marcus, a software developer from Chicago who had relocated for work. We bonded over being American expats who shared a love of terrible action movies. I traveled to Vietnam, Thailand, and Cambodia. I tried rock climbing at an indoor gym and discovered I genuinely loved it. I grew close to Priya and her circle of friends. I built a life that did not revolve around anyone else's needs. I rarely thought about home anymore. Not because I had forgotten, but because I had created something that was entirely my own. Megan sent occasional email updates. She had been promoted to assistant manager at the insurance agency. She was dating someone new who seemed stable. She had started paying off her credit card debt. The emails were brief but consistent, and I valued them more than lengthy apologies ever could have meant. Mom and I spoke every other month. The conversations were still awkward but less tense. She was learning to ask about my life without immediately redirecting to her own struggles. Progress. Slow but real. Then came the call that changed everything. It was 2 years and 6 months after I had left. Mom called on a Tuesday afternoon, which was unusual. Her voice was trembling. "Natalie, I need to tell you something. I went to the doctor last week. They found something during a routine screening. It is breast cancer, stage 2. My stomach dropped. What is the treatment plan? Surgery first, then radiation. They are optimistic about the prognosis, but I am scared. I am really scared." For the first time in years, she sounded like she genuinely needed me. Not my money, not my sacrifice, just me. "I am here, Mom. I cannot fly home immediately because of work commitments, but I am here. We will get through this together." Over the following months, we talked weekly about her fears, about treatment, about life. She told me stories about Dad that I had never heard before. She asked real questions about my job, my friends, my relationship with Marcus, and she finally genuinely apologized for the pressure she had placed on me. "I was so overwhelmed after your father died. Megan was falling apart, and you seemed so strong. I leaned on you because you could handle it, but I never stopped to ask if you should have had to handle it. I took your strength for granted and turned you into a parent when you should have just been my daughter. I am so sorry." I cried during that conversation. the kind of tears that release years of accumulated pain. Thank you for saying that, Mom. Megan stepped up during Mom's treatment. She accompanied her to every appointment, stayed with her after surgery, managed her medications. She sent me updates and photos regularly. In one picture, she and Mom were making silly faces in the hospital room. Mom in a gown and Megan wearing a ridiculous wig from the gift shop. Trying to keep spirits up, Megan wrote. We miss you, though. You are doing amazing, I replied, and I meant every word. Mom's treatment was successful. By month 7, her scans were clear. I flew home for a week near the end of her radiation treatment. It felt strange being back in Texas, in the house where I grew up. Everything seemed smaller somehow. Megan picked me up at the airport. She looked different, more grounded, more mature. She hugged me for a long time. I really missed you, Nat. I missed you too. The week went better than I could have imagined. We did not fall into old patterns. Megan did not ask for anything except my time. Mom did not guilt-trip me for living abroad. We cooked together, watched movies, looked through old photo albums. On my last night, we sat in the backyard drinking wine with a photo album spread across our laps. I almost destroyed this family, Mom said quietly. When you left, I was so angry. I could not understand why you would abandon us. But you did not abandon us. You saved yourself. And watching Megan step up these past few months, watching her become responsible and capable, I realized I had been enabling her for years. Enabling both of us, really. We needed you to leave. I did not want to hurt you, I said. I know, but you had to hurt us to help us. That is a terrible position to put someone in. Megan wiped her eyes. I was so angry when you left. I felt abandoned, but you were right. I was treating you like a bank account, not a sister. I did not even see you as a real person with your own needs. I am ashamed of that now. You have grown up a lot. I had to. You were not there to catch me anymore. It was the most honest conversation we had ever had as a family. I flew back to Singapore the next day. Marcus picked me up at the airport. How was it? He asked. Healing, I said. Actually healing. 4 years into my contract, the company offered me a permanent position with a significant salary increase. I signed without hesitation. Singapore was home now. Megan visited 8 months later, paying her own way. She stayed for a week, and we did all the tourist activities together. Gardens by the bay, Chinatown food tours, approximately 1,000 photographs. I understand why you stayed, she said on her last night. This place is incredible, and you are different here, lighter. I am the person I was supposed to be, I told her. I like this version of you. I am sorry it took losing you to find her. You did not lose me. We just needed distance to find a better way to be sisters. We hugged at the airport. This time saying goodbye did not feel like an ending. It felt like a new chapter. Mom never visited. International travel was difficult for her, and I understood, but we video called monthly, and the conversations were warm and genuine. She told me about her book club and her garden. I told her about work promotions and weekend adventures. We were building something new from the wreckage of what had broken. 5 years after leaving Texas, I was promoted to regional director. At 37, I was managing teams across 4 countries, earning more money than I had ever imagined possible. I had friends who felt like family. I had built a life entirely on my own terms. Sometimes I thought about that text from Megan, the one that started everything. The entitled assumption that I would obviously surrender my life for hers. The expectation had been so deeply ingrained in our family dynamic that she had never even considered I might say no. I did not regret my decision, not for a single moment. Setting that boundary, making that choice, signing that contract. It was the hardest and most rewarding decision of my entire life. They called me selfish. They accused me of abandoning them in their time of need, but I had not abandoned anyone. I had finally stopped abandoning myself. The truth is, you cannot save people who refuse to save themselves. You cannot sacrifice your own growth for someone else's comfort forever. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is step back and let people face the consequences of their choices. Megan needed to learn responsibility. Mom needed to understand that love is not the same as enabling. And I needed to learn that I mattered too, that my dreams and happiness were just as important as anyone else's. The boundaries I set were not walls. They were bridges to healthier relationships, even if everything had to fall apart first. Last month, Megan sent me a photograph. She was standing in front of a small insurance brokerage, keys in hand. She had saved for 3 years and purchased it herself. Did it on my own? She wrote. Nobody's money but mine. Wish you were here to celebrate. I am so incredibly proud of you, I replied. And I meant it with my whole heart. That night, I stood on my balcony watching the Singapore skyline. The city lights stretched out like fallen stars. My phone was buzzing with messages from friends making weekend plans. Marcus was on his way over with Thai takeout. Priya wanted to know if I was available for climbing on Saturday. My life was full of possibility, full of choice, full of the freedom that comes from finally putting yourself first. Somewhere on the other side of the world, my family was learning to stand on their own, learning to be whole without using me as a crutch. It took an ocean between us to make that happen. I did not resent them anymore. I did not even feel angry. I just felt free. And that freedom was worth everything. If you are still watching, I want you to know something. You are allowed to choose yourself. You are allowed to set boundaries. You are allowed to walk away from situations that drain you, even if those situations involve family. Your worth is not measured by what you sacrifice for others. If this story resonated with you, subscribe to the channel and leave a comment telling me your favorite part. Hit the like button if you made it all the way to the end. And remember, sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply say no.